I'm about to welcome to the stage Atif. Hello, Atif. I think you're about to pop up, and Lucinda for our next session. And we Atif through his paces yesterday. He was had questions fired at him from all corners. So I do like to see a man singing for his supper. So you're back again. You're back again. So I'm really looking forward to this session. So I'm going to vanish and leave you with Atif and Lucinda, and I will see you in a little bit. Over to you guys.
Thanks, Tim.
Thanks, Tim. So, hi everybody. As Tim said, my name is Lucinda Pullinger. I am the Global Head of HR at the Instant Group, and at the Instant Group, our specialism is the workplace. We partner with organisations of all sizes across the world to create the right real estate portfolio and workspace for their business and their culture. So we provide data and insight, and we create solutions, and we ultimately deliver those solutions to organisations, which enables us to fulfil our purpose, which is freeing businesses so that they can move forward faster. That's me.
Thanks, Lucinda. I'm Atif. As Tim said, for some reason I've been allowed back on, but for a much shorter period of time this time, which I'll take as feedback. I'm the CEO of businessfourzero. We help businesses change fast in the world around them. We do that by working with the exec team to create a really stretching direction, with the leadership teams underneath to make sure they get everybody rowing hard in the same direction, and with frontline teams to turn them into engines of rapid improvement. And you know, through all of that, we end up working a lot on how you deliberately create, embed, accelerate culture. And Lucinda and I have worked together, so that's why we're here together today.
Yeah. So our view, Atif and I's view is, and my view is, that office space and culture are intrinsically linked. Debatable, but historically many organisations have probably been over-reliant on their workspace to create and build a vibrant and productive organisation. So what we want to do is share some insight on how the workplace is changing, and then our viewpoint on how that will impact on organisational culture. You know, as an HRD myself, I know many of us have got a lot on our plates at the moment. Whether that be return to the office protocol, organisational change, employee wellbeing, which I know has been talked about quite a bit on this conference, furlough schemes if you're in the UK, and more. And that's all critical business as usual stuff. But what we're going to invite you to do today is to think beyond the short term, and look up and consider the implications as well as the opportunities and challenges for the longer term. What do we need to do, especially as an HR community, to build strong businesses and an engaging culture for the future?
So look, we've only got about 16 minutes left, and therefore two things we wanted to cover with you. So the first thing, to Lucinda's point, is we're going to get into how more dispersed and more flexible workspace could provide a massive opportunity for your business, but only if you capitalise on it in the right way. And the second thing is actually that Lucinda and I have a view, which is, as mostly people who work within HR, we think there's two areas that you traditionally don't own that you need to grab hold of if we're going to make this work, make culture work in this new world.
So we're going to start off with the opportunity. Much has been said, and most of I think the sessions have opened with this, but the pandemic has had a series of profound short-term impacts as well as longer-term implications on businesses. Not least of which is the move to a new dispersed way of working for millions of workers across the world. You know, for us in the commercial real estate market, we're seeing the sector shaken to the foundations. Suddenly the very need for an office, which is one of the most secure asset classes of the last century, is being questioned by businesses of all sizes. And in addition, if we look up and outside our own businesses for direction to what others are doing, there is not a clear view, there is no clear consensus. Last week, for example, Netflix said we want you back in the office as soon as possible. And I think JP Morgan have said similar for some of their segments of their workforce this week. But others are saying you never need to come back into the office again. Twitter, I think, said that a few weeks ago. The reality is there's no one-size-fits-all solution. And at the Instant Group, we've got clients all over the world, small businesses and large businesses, including multinationals. And what we've done over the last few months is we've brought those businesses together and coordinated industry-wide think tank sessions. And I'm going to share 3 insights that we've gleaned from those think tank sessions to help give some context. The first one is around agility, and I mean agility in every sense. So what is changing is that most obviously there's agility in location. We've got more home working, we've got more hub and spoke models, which is where there's a central office, but the office is a lot smaller than maybe it is today, and businesses actually have regional offices located in sensible places for where employees live. That brings upsides of cheap office locations for many businesses and cheaper commute for employees. It supports that work-life balance separation that some people are struggling with, and it enables things like the social interaction and other benefits of an office life that many people are looking for. So there's definitely agility in location. Agility in working hours, we know that that's going to be more fluid. From a more real estate perspective, it's agility in tenure of leases. The concept of businesses taking out 10, 20-year leases just seems like a thing of the past now. And along with that, probably agility in portfolio cost. Historically, real estate's probably been a relatively static cost for organisations, and I think, or we think at the Instant Group, there's more opportunity for variable cost bases. So the first theme coming out really is agility. The second theme is a move to activity-based working. So from the employer perspective, that's really thinking about office space design and thinking about what different teams within your business need and designing the office around that. So what your marketing team need may be different from what an HR team need, may be different from what a data development team need, and really thinking about how you set that office up to make it as productive as possible for your people. Secondly, really from an employee perspective, considering the activities that people are doing when they go to the office. So people are going to start to make more informed and productive, informed decisions about where they're going to be most productive. There may be a situation where you've got to do a report and you're going to get your head down, so working at home is better, or there may be a situation where you're planning a project, and that planning phase is best done face-to-face in an office, and then maybe the execution and delivery is best done at home. So you've got the employer perspective, which is why do people come into my office and what do those teams need and how can I provide a facility that's really going to enable them? And then the employee perspective, which is what have I got to do today? And it's a more informed decision than there's no food in my fridge, so I think I'll go into town. It's what have I got on my to-do list today and where am I going to be most productive? So the first insight is really around agility. The second is around this activity-based working. And the last one, it looks like there's going to be new and interesting ways of tracking workspace. So traditionally, workspace has really been looked at in terms of dollars or pounds per square foot. And actually, I think there's more sophisticated ways of measuring workspace coming. Is workspace delivering what your people need it to do beyond just being a cost in the business? So given that context, especially with the agility and the activity-based working, we think comes significant opportunity. So the first one is talent attraction. You know, without the historical constraints of location to contend with, the pool of talent that you can draw from becomes significantly larger. It's a huge opportunity for businesses. It's yet to be known, to be seen, because the market's been set in such a weird place, but retention rates may improve as people have more flexibility on where they work and when they work. That flexibility enables employees to better balance work and home life, which could impact on retention. That could certainly impact on employee well-being. And we know that there's lots of impacts between employee well-being and productivity. So this is a huge opportunity for businesses. What Atif's going to do now is give you our perspective on what we need to do to capitalise on that opportunity. I don't think we can just take it for granted that we're going to realise those benefits, and there are some risks that we need to mitigate.
Thanks, Lucinda. So no, exactly. I mean, it sort of sounds like nirvana. Well, you know, commute desks, work in spaces that are perfect for the type of work we're trying to do. Have better talent pools drawn from, you know, more locations. Well-being will go up. You know, I think there's truth to this, right? All these things are possible. However, I think there's some pretty big risks as well. So, you know, productivity, engagement, and energy have gone up. I think partly due to some of the makeshift solutions we've all got to around some of the areas Lucinda was talking about. But I think it's a really big question about whether that level of productivity, engagement, energy is going to be sustainable. And I don't know whether you've noticed it, but even in the last week, I've started to hear more and more people across businesses and sectors start to talk about some of the lack of energy, the energy that's being drained out of them as they try and work in this different way. And so I think that, productivity, great, but might not be sustainable. I think the second thing is that individual productivity has gone up, but collective productivity and just collaboration have in many settings gone down. And so I think there's a real risk that problem only gets worse over time if we get this wrong and if we don't manage to build really vibrant cultures. And I think the other thing is that whilst there was a crisis, we made a load of decisions down on the front line. We were very nimble and quick. But I think over time, we're going to get more decisions flowing up again because there isn't the opportunity to quickly kick something around and resolve it. And so more and more things are going to get surfaced back up to leadership teams as we stop being in crisis mode. And so look, I guess my kind of key provocation here is we're going to have to create a much simpler, clearer, more compelling, more emotionally connected to framework for what it is that we're all trying to do, which will then allow us to disperse and be flexible and go and do the activities and tasks that we need to go and do. I think in the past, you get away with not everybody, if we're honest, really understanding the direction of the company, perhaps not even caring about the direction of the company. But as long as you cascaded goals and objectives well enough, then every person can just focus on their thing that they're supposed to be doing. Now, I think pre-COVID, I'm being glib, that was already not good enough. But in an era when businesses are going to need to innovate and evolve arguably even faster, and now where you're going to have more dispersed workforces, I don't think you can get away with that anymore. So here's the push. Everyone's got to understand where we're going. Everybody has to understand how it all joins up. Everyone has to care enough to run through walls to deliver it, and they've got to be able to do that again and again and again with all sorts of energy drains and challenges. Right? I think we've got to get there. So how do you do that? The first thing is, I think it's really important you make sure everybody is connected to the why. And actually, I think there are two whys that are really important. One is, in a world where everybody's got loads of change to contend with and they're quite tired by that change, and post-COVID, more change is coming, they have to be connected to why we need to change. And I don't mean like somebody's explained it to them in a PowerPoint. I mean emotionally, like, I get it, I believe it, because the fear of change is an emotion, and you need to counter that with an emotion. Which is a connection to the case of change. And the other one is obviously is purpose, as a subject I spoke about yesterday and passionate about. But both those things give people a sense of the why. And I think you need both. The second thing is you've got to distill the core elements of your strategy that everybody needs to understand into 3 or 4 very simple things that everybody can hang on to and they know they focus time and money on. The third is define the behaviors and how you want people to operate, the high standards that you want clearly and compellingly. And fourthly, then get all of that into a story that is no more than 35 words long. And it's a story that people give a crap about, because if they don't, I think you're in real trouble in this kind of new dispersed world, and you won't have a vibrant, productive culture. And I guess then the final thing is engage them, don't tell them, and keep doing that. Keep having conversations about it. Keep embedding it into the work that teams do week in, week out. Lucinda, I'm going to go back to you to talk a little bit about your experience of that.
Yeah, I mean, we as an organisation, it was probably with somewhat of fortuitous timing. At the end of last year, completely unaware of the COVID situation going to happen, we spent a lot of time doing exactly this. So at the end of 2019, our global exec team got together and we spent a lot of time agreeing our purpose, the areas of differentiation and therefore investment, and also our behaviours. It was time intensive. We worked relentlessly to ensure that to a person, each member of that team was 100% behind every element of what we call our blueprint. But that time invested at the end of last year, and Shannon's just put that up on the screen, that was what we came up with. And what that time invested last year has done is just save us hours and hours. It's paid back tenfold probably on the time that we've saved since. We've had complete alignment, both at the global exec level on the direction. So whilst there's been debate and we've had challenging times, ultimately the direction that we're heading in, the focus on our priorities and our narrative to the wider business has been absolutely consistent. It hasn't been questioned, it hasn't been up for debate. So the speed that we are able to move at has been great. And the speed with which people have come along with us has also been great. They understand the context because we engaged in this two-way dialogue with them about it during the rollout. And so they've been able to keep pace with us as a global exec and the decisions that we've been making. So as a sort of live example of what Atif has just said, the alignment and the clarity, and as I said, the speed have been a huge benefit to us by doing that. So we'll move on now to the sort of second thing that Atif and I wanted to talk to you about, and it's really our challenge to you. So there are two areas that we think, I think most people on the conference are HRDs, and two areas that we think you've got to take hold of in the new world if you're going to help your business realise the opportunity that you've spoken about. And when I look back at my time as an HRD, I have not really seen workspace high up on my agenda, and I certainly haven't built it into my people strategies. Office and the associated tech kind of provided, and I expect that from real estate and IT. And somewhat embarrassingly, that is even true since I've been working for a workspace company. I think from our think tank sessions, it was overwhelmingly clear that real estate and HR departments are coming closer together. CEOs have got workspace high on their agenda. CFOs have got it high on their agenda because they're sniffing out some savings opportunities. And boards are starting to ask questions. And they want joint solutions from the real estate and the HR team. So I think HR needs to lean into that space and partner on this agenda more than we've ever done before. My CEO at Instant, he's always said we're in the people business, not the property business. And people used to think it was bonkers, and they no longer do. Your workspace, people, talent, culture, these are all intrinsically linked. So our challenge to you, to ensure that you are part of building an iconic culture moving forward for your business, is broaden your perspective around culture and people to include workspace, and build that activity-based working and its implications into your people strategy. And I'd encourage you to really lean in and develop and create an opinion on workspace in a way that you probably haven't done or felt you've had permission to do beforehand.
And look, if real estate is one area we think you need to take hold of in this new world, here's one that's closer to home, but I still don't think enough HR directors and departments take hold of, which is comms. Because if you're going to work in this new dispersed, flexible way, we all know comms becomes more important. Again, my challenge would be, I think, comms in times of crisis, it's a bit easier to score big wins, because in the end, as long as you are open and authentic and acknowledge what people are going through, they'll respond really well, and they're looking for that direction and connection. As we move forward, and while people are fatigued, and then we start to try and change further as a business, it's going to be really critical. And I guess I just don't know whether thinking about comms is helpful. I think in the new world, you need to think about comms as how do you create bonds, not how do you create comms. It's not only going to be critical to sustaining energy, but it's also going to be really critical to how you course correct, innovate, etc. And look, I think fundamentally that's about step changing the quality of conversations that leaders create, rather than what we communicate at people. And leaders' ability to be open, vulnerable, to draw people to them. The last thing I think I'd say on this kind of comms area is some of the stuff we need to do is really old-fashioned, like leaders making a call at the end of the week for 10 minutes to somebody to say, look, I just want to tell you that saw what you did, and I think it's really impressive. Thank you for doing that. Or to just call somebody and go, I've got no agenda. I just want to spend 10 minutes checking in on how you are. Some of that old-fashioned stuff about staying in touch small is as important as some of the really big things around real estate and your entire property portfolio. So look, I think we're out of time. This is my closing thought on behalf of Lucinda and I is, the last crisis we had, and most crises before them have been the CFO's crisis. This year, 2020, it's all about HR. It's HR's crisis. It's a global crisis. It's all about people. It's got more to run. And as I say, we're then going to have to come out and evolve and change our businesses, which is still about people. So this is the moment. I know in HR, we're probably all tired, but let's make sure we get a rest, and then let's come out and grab hold of the things we need to grab hold of, because it's the only way we're going to build cultures that are really vibrant and really productive as we move forward. So look, thank you for listening to us.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you both so much. That was just packed full of insight. A lot of honesty, really inspirational, and with roots to implement. Thank you. Thank you, Lucinda. Thank you, Atif. Thank you so much.
Lovely to see you all.
Bye.